In the last decade, I've read through hundreds of self-help and personal development books. Some of them were enlightening, and some of them felt like one idea spread across 300 pages and a complete waste of time. Some I couldn't get past the intro, and others I couldn't put down. I was too obsessed to see it to the end. So in this video, I'm going to break down the key things that I've learned and taken away from all the great books I've read. And I want to discuss with you which books really sparked that change in me. Also, which ones surprised me by contradicting my beliefs. And lastly, I really want to share with you the books that stuck with me and changed my life. And let me know, I'm really curious about your list too. So please share with me some of your favorite books in the comments below. And the first book, which has a really special place in my heart, is The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. And if you've ever been through a tough time in your life, where you feel like everything you want is so out of reach, Brianna's book helped me through a tough time like these, when I just felt like everything is so impossible. She made me realize that what's holding myself and also others back is because of our own self-sabotaging behaviors. It's when we have these big dreams about our careers, our life, our business, our relationships, that we're almost too scared to take that next step, afraid to act. And this conflict creates that barrier between who you are and who you want to be. And one self-sabotaging behavior that I really identify with is uprooting, which is basically not staying the course with anything. Moving, shifting out of jobs, changing friends, getting in and out of relationships. Shiny object syndrome, when you're always trying the latest trendy tactics in business. It's like you have all these big ideas, but never really follow through. And you get really motivated in the beginning. Then eventually you drop off. And I did this so many times in my life. So now I'm constantly trying to fight against this and realize and be more aware of it on an ongoing basis. She also just writes so beautifully. The insights and the poetic writings in this book helped me through that really tough time. The time when I felt like a nobody. And if you're having a hard time right now, I hope that this book helps you to cross that mountain, or as Brianna Wiest calls it, the mountain is you, to cross that mountain to become the person that you would become. So when you're reading this book, think about some of the self-sabotaging behaviors that you might fall into, as it did for me, and to make me realize it and address it head on. Book number 2 is The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I like to revisit this book every single year, and this book has literally a treasure trove of life lessons from the prolific entrepreneur Naval Ravikant, who's also the co-founder of AngelList, among many other companies that he founded. But he's famous for his Twitter threads on literally all of his insights and knowledge on wealth and happiness. And one thing that's been really refreshing is that he encourages people to build wealth, not money, because wealth is only an asset, like equity in a business or creating podcasts and videos that grows over time. Whereas money pays for your time, right? So your time, unfortunately, is a finite asset. You only have so much of it before you run out. The reason why you're struggling with more time is because often we're giving our time away for money. And this idea really inspired me to shift away from project-based work in my business and moving more towards scaling my time by serving more people and helping more people through group workshops and courses. And one quote that I really love that he shared is, all the returns in life, whether it's in wealth, knowledge, or relationships, comes from compound interest. So what are some of the wealth building assets that you can create after reading this book? Instead of always changing your time for money, how can you live smarter and build wealth for the future? The next book is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I picked up this book because at the time, to be honest with you, my financial life or personal finance is a complete mess. If you're in a similar place where you just never know how you're going to make it to the end of the month on your paycheck and money is always tight, I was definitely there. But instead of telling me what to do step by step with money, it helped me to understand my own behaviors with money and how to actually build long-term sustainable financial decisions that helps my life. So, for example, one of the things that he really talked about is how money is really a vehicle to help you buy your freedom. Freedom to do what you want, with whom you want, and wherever you want. And I think freedom really is the ultimate rich, right? Because rather than money just buying you material things, freedom allows you to live a better life. And for me, reflecting on this is that in my own business, by having the freedom of saving up 6 months of runway from my full-time job, of salaries on the side. When I started my business, I could actually choose to work with who I wanted and not just take on every single client coming through the door. And I think this is a really important aspect of our psychology around money is instead of accumulating just money, think about how you can accumulate money for the sake of freedom in the long term. And one of the biggest lessons I loved is the idea of enough. You are enough and you have enough. It's simple, but yet so powerful, right? And as a side note, if you really want to get your financial lives in order, I recommend this book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Rami Sethi. What's really great about this book is that it's really practical. Doesn't matter which jurisdiction you're living in right now in terms of country, I think the overall idea of it applies to different complexities of our financial system right now. So you might have come across this Netflix show called How to Get Rich. So if you have watched that, you know exactly what I mean. He really lays out step by step on some of the really simple things that we can get started today to start building a healthier personal financial future at any age. But again, this is not personal finance advice. It's purely because something that I've tried in my own life, and I think it helped me a lot by reading these two books. The next book is The Third Door by Alex Banayan. And Alex completely opened my eyes with an extraordinary journey of trying to interview some of the most successful people in the world, like Bill Gates, Jessica Alba, Warren Buffett, the whole full list of names you'll see in the book itself. But most importantly, throughout this whole journey, he shared this concept of the third door, which is something he discovered by trying to interview some of these really successful people and trying to get into their inboxes or get through to their chief of staff, is that there are ways for regular people like you and me to skip the line and ultimately to unlock hidden opportunities by thinking creatively out of the box.
School and society have this way of making us feel like those are the only two ways in. You're either born into it or you wait your turn like everybody else. But what I've learned is that there's always the third door. And it's the door where you have to jump out of line, run down the alley, bang on the door 100 times, crack open the window, go through the kitchen. There's always a way in.
So my parents are not famous or rich, and I do not have any special connections. But after reading this book, it made me realize that I have put a ceiling on top of who I think I can speak to and who to hang out with. So reading this book inspired me to send out so many more cold emails and direct messages on social media to individuals who I look up to. And these can open so many doors because it's not just about what you know, but it's about who you know that can really get to where you want to be. I recommend thinking about 5 to 6 people that either you look up to online or in real life, and think about how can you be more proactive in reaching out to them. And if you want a bit of pointer on how to write cold emails, I think this book is a great start because Alex shares all the templates that he's used, actual real emails that he sent to individuals like these to actually get their attention. The next book is The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. For those of you who enjoy a little bit of fiction alongside really valuable life lessons, I think The Go-Giver was such a joy to read. So it's a fictional story about this guy named Joe. He's a go-getter, but he really struggles to land this new account. So he reached out to a wealthy mentor, hoping that he can get more leads through him. But instead, this mentor taught him the insider trade secrets about how to be successful. And that is giving. And this is the part where most people struggle on in life, is that they're focused on constantly getting something, like money or connections, before giving anything. Whereas successful people focus on giving first. And the more you give, the more you have. I think, for example, like creating content online, the more value you give away, the more trust you're building with your audiences. And in the long term, that trust turns into customers, people who want to buy your products or share about you with others. At the end, it's never a zero-sum game. Just because you've given, it's not about expecting something back, but rather it's like a strategy that you live through life. So I recommend when you read this book, think about the different ways that you can do more giving in what you do. And this can really change the way that you approach relationships and everything in general going forward. The next book is called The First 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. So I'm going to talk about love here for a second. If you've been married or in a relationship for a long time, then you probably know that maintaining that initial spark or connection is so hard. And I know this because I've been married for 9 years. And I know that for me, the work really begins the day that you get married, not in the fairy tale version where everything's happily ever after, right? Something I've noticed in my own relationship with my husband Simon is that we both have different ways of showing our love and affection for each other. And you may have noticed this in your own relationship too, is that miscommunication of love and affection in different ways can sometimes cause arguments between couples. And Gary in this book really talks about the 5 universal love languages that we all use. So words of affirmation, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch, and quality time. And for me, I think the way that I perceive love is by acts of service. So when I get sick, for example, I see taking care of someone, like making them a cup of tea, is showing affection and showing love. And Simon, on the other hand, he's a bit oblivious to that, but yet the way that he shows love is through giving gifts. So he's very great at giving surprises around my birthdays and anniversaries, which I'm absolutely terrible at. And it just really shows that between every couple, there are different ways of showing love to each other. And by understanding your love language, you can help to feel more fulfilled in a relationship. And also knowing your partner's love language can help them to feel more fulfilled in the way that they want to receive love as well. So when you're reading this book, I recommend sharing it with the other person that's in your life and really kind of think through what's your version of love language. The next book is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And in this book, it's about a woman in her 30s who decided on the day that she dies, she found herself in a library full of books that are filled with variations of lives that she could have lived. So she tries on each life. So for example, becoming a musician that's world famous, or a polar expedition explorer, or an ex-Olympian. It kind of reminded me of that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where she finally discovered that there's so much more to life, especially in her current one, more than she could have ever imagined, and that we all have this one life right now, and how can we make the most of every moment? So at the time, this book made me face my own insecurity and depression that I was facing at the time, and allowed me to embrace more gratitude in the fact that everything that we have is right here, right now. And the fact that we are born is probably one of the biggest lottery ticket that we have ever been given. The odds of us being born is 1 in 400 trillion. So when you read this book, think about some of the things that you're grateful in your life right now. And how can you make the most of every moment? The last one but not least, and there's many other books I want to mention, but I'll save that for another video, is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. If you're currently going through a really tough time at work, or maybe your business is not going so well, and there's lots of challenges and stress going on in your life at the moment, this could be a really good book for you. Because I think this book helped me to get through those really, really bad days when you just want to throw in the towel and just give up. And the author, Ryan Holiday, he's very good at taking very ancient Stoicism philosophies, making it to something that's really easy to understand in modern day issues that we're having right now. And oftentimes, successful people have actually thrived because of the obstacles they face, because the obstacles made them more resilient and be able to face that same challenge again and again over time. The obstacle becomes the way, as Ryan says in his book. And remind the time that really some of our best lessons are learned from failures. And when you change your perception of obstacles and challenges into something that's going to give you valuable insight, life all of a sudden becomes a lot more easier and fun. So think back to your recent challenge or obstacle. What are some of the things that you learned from it? Trial and error, constantly experimenting is probably one of the best ways to learn something. I made countless mistakes in my career and business so far, but I'm grateful for every single one of them because those mistakes taught me how not to do something, and it made me realize how to be creative and to get to my goals even faster. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end. If you made it this far, I know that you're a fellow bookworm who loves books as much as I do. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy this playlist of all the different life lesson videos I made along the way. And also down here, which is all about the marketing books I recommend in my career so far. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing to this channel and also to the newsletter, which is the link in the description below, so I can send out more of these useful insights on personal growth and business to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.